I'm sure we'll lean in for stuff.
Oh, I'm always
But
leaning
that's
in. Oh, I say I'm no, editor and a writing coach. And other days I say I'm a writing coach and an editor. It depends what day it is.
now tell me, Lou, straight in the deep end, what do you love most about your work?
And I just sort of love that moment when we're working together and there's that little kind of spark. Do you know what you're going to do now? They go, yes, yes, quick, get me off the call. I'm ready to go. As part of editing, there's two types of editing. There's that close editing called copy editing, and then there's the sort of bigger picture editing, which is called structural editing or manuscript appraisal. And I started doing the manuscript appraisals as a video, as a Zoom, really, like even before we knew about Zoom. And I decided to play around with just doing it one-on-one with someone as like a kind of workshop. Chapter 3, would you consider starting at chapter 3, then feeding a backstory? You might say
Ah,
that, but you've got to say that all in writing. But if you're talking to someone, straight away you can say that and they might go, but what about this? And you can go, yes, but what about that? Or I haven't thought about that. So
so
it
the
becomes
feedback's
like a
immediate.
workshop.
Yeah.
Before I even knew the term literary fiction, remember
Mm.
I used to go to the bookshop and, ask for recommendations, say, I'm more interested in prose than plot.
Ah, so the way
And
something's written rather than what
it's
it's written about. Yeah.
it's maybe, yeah, it can have more time, can be more ponderous. It's not just all about what happens.
What's the process you go about in preserving or understanding that writer's voice in the
It's
first place?
That's like the number one credo. They're not even sure, sometimes they're not even sure whether it's a good style or whether they like the style. So even just
Yeah.
getting that feedback where I can sort of say, like, I think your voice is really strong or, amusing or, love this dry wit here. And they might go, oh, dry wit. I didn't realize I had dry wit or whatever.
Terms like story arc and
Hmm.
the hero's journey and acts
Hmm.
1, 2, and 3. You sort of
Hmm.
intimated about the acts earlier. So what do these things mean and how important are they? And are they part of the where do they sort of fit in the whole writer's journey or
The three-act structure is something we know absolutely kind of sort of implicitly. What you might start with is the inciting incident. It always start with that. So there's life as normal, and then something changes it. So that's a turning point there. It will get to the point where they overcome so many obstacles, getting towards the climax. So Act 1 is the inciting incident, sorry. Act
yes?
2 is reaching up, reaching for the goals up to the climax.
Mm-hmm.
Often there's a sort of all is lost moment at the climax.
Ah,
The climax is when they get the thing, and the third act is that quick denouement when they will live happily ever after. There's a thing called Save the Cat, which is based on the first Alien movie. What's Ripley's task? To save the cat. Ask the hard questions, and I say
yeah.
it's not that the reader needs to know all those answers, but you have to know every answer.
Inner voice or a kind of inner movie that's playing in your head and in the author's head as well.
You don't want the narrator popping in too closely and sort of saying, look at this and join all these dots and everything. And did you notice that over there? Did you see how she smiled? It was a happy smile. If the
Yeah.
narrator's in there all the time telling you where to look everywhere, everywhere, it's kind of slightly exhausting for the reader, but also not very enjoyable because the reader doesn't get to do any work. When we're
Yeah.
reading a book, we see it. And it might not be exactly like what the writer sees, but we see something. When you choose to show something as a scene, is something has to have changed by the end of that scene. And then, let's just say they're having lots of fun before it all goes terribly wrong. So there might be the
Harry Met
first scene.
Sally comes to mind
Yeah,
immediately.
I think just you think the difference between scene versus summary, because in a scene you could go into
Yeah.
someone's head as well.
Yeah.
Just like, I hate you, I said, thinking I really love them. Fantasy and speculative fiction often are a little bit more close and a little bit more detail, whereas,
Mm.
because there's a lot of stuff to fill in, whereas often, as I say, literary might be a little bit less detail, but yeah, that's why there's so many thousands of books in the world.
Yeah, wonderful,
We're
Lou.
not all writing the same book. That would be boring. By the first 15,000 words, I've got enough information about their writing to give them feedback. Whenever I've had someone just send me those 15,000 words, I've never said, oh, give up.
I
And I
gotcha.
can give them that direction. These are your strengths, and this is what you can work on. If they're stuck, it could be confidence that's just stopping them move forward.
Very nice. Very nice. What an amazing bit of picture building you do. I think it's absolutely fantastic.